So somebody once told me, they said, Kevin, I said, tomorrow's a new day. And it was quite possibly one of the simplest things that I've ever been told that was 100% true. Tomorrow's a new day. And I think a lot of people are taking that into consideration each and every night before they go to sleep. Go to sleep with a lot of weight, anxiety, stress on the mind, on their brain from previous days. Continuous struggles with the economy, inflation, recession, job loss, the list goes on and on. Yet I'm also hearing similar phrases here more often of, today was the worst day I've ever had. So when I think about it, if this is growing to be more of a commonality amongst people of having terrible days, does that mean that every day moving forward is going to be worse than the previous, since tomorrow is a new day? I hope not. I hope that's not the case, but I've had a few revelations here recently, one of which being the ridiculously high price of food. We were at dog training. We were doing our dog training today, and the trainer suggested we go to Chick-fil-A and buy a chicken sandwich and use it as a tool for training our dog, our golden doodle. And he said, if you can put the chicken sandwich down and he doesn't eat it and he obeys your command, you're making progress. I said, well, that's all fine and good, but that's like a $9, it's like almost $10, depending on what state you live in, training tool that if we fail, we just gave our dog a $10 sandwich. And the point is, it's not about the obedience training with my dog, which is going quite well, by the way. Ironically, folks, if you're interested in dog training, you have to realize that a large portion of the training actually lies on the owner, on the person, not necessarily just the dog. But either way, I digress. A chicken sandwich is almost $10. I mean, I'm talking about, certain states with or without fries and a drink at Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is expensive, but everywhere is expensive. And this is part of what I'm hearing from folks when they say today was the worst day I've ever had, because they're feeling this pain from inflation, from the economy, from recession, from Mr. Biden's Build Back Better. This economy, gas is, going back up in price. So it's not going to be long before spring hits us and we have record high gas prices on top of record high food prices, on top of record high utility costs, which some of those utility costs are actually being refunded now because some of these utility companies were overcharging the customers. But what do we do? How do we survive this? What's the plan? How do we prepare? That answer is going to be different for everybody. Everybody's got their own opinions on the best ways to go about handling these challenging economic situations. Now, a lot of people, believe it or not, a lot of people believe that the answer actually lies in the government, as the government's job to take care of us. Now, granted, in some states like California, they've been trained to think this way, which is odd, very odd. But, they have their own issues, their own problems, and I can say that, I don't know how people buy into that. I don't get it. Here in the great state of Florida, granted, nobody's perfect, but I'd take this over California any day of the week, twice on Sundays. So, but, some people want the handouts. They want the SNAP benefits. They want the EBT. They want the food stamps. They want the welfare checks. They want stimulus checks. Believe it or not, people tune in, subscribe to channels every day with stimulus check updates that don't provide the update to let people know that there's no fourth stimulus check coming. And even if it did, what's that going to do for you? I think now is the time that people really need to buckle down and really get it in their minds that there will be no more handouts. Now, I'm not saying tomorrow, but I am saying that some of these programs like SNAP, EBT, food stamps, welfare, these programs are much like other segments of our economy. We're going to lean on Walmart. We're going to lean on Target. We're going to lean on Walgreens, CVS, Lowe's, the Home Depot, retail in general. Theft is becoming a major problem, which is forcing major changes. And with taxpayers paying more money, 3 to 4 times more money to replace these lost and stolen welfare government handouts, that's just going to come to a stop quick. I promise you. So all these people who are relying on these programs, some of them need it. Some of them are mooching on the system and taking advantage of it. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's what they're doing. It's going to come to a stop. Now, granted, in the interim, in the meantime, you and I, we will have to carry that burden and pay those taxes. Some will pay more than others. Others have realized that, there are ways of maximizing your taxable income by utilizing businesses and business expenses and tax preparation and tax planning and tax avoidance as ways of maximizing their income and not just forking it over for it to be grossly misused and recklessly spent, especially in instances where the money's being given away to odds are some undeserving folks out there taking advantage of the system, only to be then stolen that we have to then pay to replace. So, there's that. But once that system comes to a head, just like we're seeing with these retailers, Walmart is closing stores left and right. Why? Because they're tired of having products stolen from them. And granted, it could be based on income level, low income. It could be based on demographics. Certain, neighborhoods, certain groups of people are more the cause than others. But also, some seniors are stealing just to survive because their Social Security, their retirement, their savings, it's wiped out. They don't have enough. They're trying to survive. I came across several stories actually where there are organized rings of people stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars of merchandise to resell online. Now, folks, I promote online businesses all day long, but in the legal way, not going out and stealing stuff off the shelves to then resell for 100% profit. And that's what's going on. And these companies see it, they know it, and they're going to do what they have to do to eliminate that threat, that possibility from happening. Much like these government programs of food stamps and EBT and welfare and SNAP, all these handouts, they're done. They're not going to increase the security. They're going to get rid of them. And they're going to use that money that they would have used for these programs in some other way to fund their other projects that they want. Ways of laundering money and redirecting it back to them. We know that. We need to know that. I hope you know that. But what does that mean? That means that the people right now, everybody should be focused on saving as much money as possible and not putting themselves in a situation where they are kind of like backed into a corner and they feel like the only way out is a life of crime, because it's only going to get worse. And then those who are stealing are going to then be threatened by others who are stealing, and it's going to cause all these problems. We're going to have big problems. My prediction. Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. You guys prove me wrong, please. But the simple fact of the matter is that a lot of folks are saying that today is the worst day that they've ever had. Meanwhile, tomorrow's a new day. So it is almost logical that tomorrow would then be the next worst day that you'll ever have. unless you're actually doing something to try to improve the situation. Otherwise, if you're just going through the motions, then odds are nothing's going to change. It's just going to be more of the same. More pain, more anxiety, more stress, more panic, more fear, more burden, more money being taken away from you, because inflation is taking money away from people. Higher prices, price hikes, a possible recession, job loss. Folks, these are all built in a way to take money away from the people who aren't doing the things that they need to do to make their money, make them more money. Or we have a record number of people now with full-time jobs taking on second and third jobs and part-time side hustle gigs, not for building wealth, just for getting by. And that is a problem. That is a problem, because this is like there's a hole in the boat and we're just using this bucket to toss the water out, but the water keeps coming back in. And this ultimately, you're going to get tired of it, or there's going to have the boat's going to take on more water than you can expel, and ultimately you're going to capsize that boat and you're going to sink. Which, ironically, I watched Titanic today, 3D IMAX. That was interesting, because it just reinstated how our society behaves in a way that, you know, when it really gets bad, there are half as many lifeboats for as many people that are out there. I'll just leave it at that. Meanwhile, waiting to watch this movie, I watched some previews. And one of the previews was Oppenheimer. And it's the story of, you know, building this atomic bomb, which is ironic because it makes me think back to just a couple years ago where we literally experienced this atomic bomb, which in theory was being built to solve a problem. But there was a near 0% chance that it would actually destroy the entire world by trying to solve this problem. Does that not seem ironic to you?